Jesus. This thing has a mind of its own, this tablet. Almost as bad as the fucking vulture. Oops! We're live. Live from the WDWL TV Multiplex Breaking News Live Studio. We bring you the pride of the station, the Two Grumpies, starring the grumpy old man. Oh, that would be me. And the grumpy vulture. Take your bow. Oh, very nice, very nice. Good job, good job. Yeah, I see you. You preened your feathers again. Yeah, okay. It's about time you took a bath. You were smelling like roadkill. Now, back in your corner. Oh, the camera. Don't worry. Yeah, there. Face the camera. Greetings, friends. Been a typical grumpy Monday today. Yes. I had a few projects planned and things just didn't work out. So hopefully tomorrow I can get them done. Yeah, I'm gathering up all the equipment that I'm going to need for the first annual Grumpy New Year's Extravaganza. Yeah, it's going to be a big show. Yeah, it's going to be a show, we'll say that. I'm still looking for suggestions. I've been asking, nothing so far. If you have a suggestion or something that you would like me to do besides not be on the air for New Year's Eve, drop them in my faceplant comment section. I was trying to get the CEO to divulge my special studio for New Year's Eve. He keeps telling me, it's you, it's you. As soon as you see it, it's you. I don't know what he means about it's you. Is there such a thing as a grumpy studio? I don't know. That's all he keeps saying. Don't worry. I've been sneaking around the building, looking in all the studios. I don't see anything with one of the new studios where he would let me have a New Year's Eve show like here. He ain't gonna. And the new studio getting close. I was peeking through the. They got that plastic up, that black plastic, so you can't see anything. Well, Grumpy did a no-no. Yeah, I took out my pocket knife. I cut a little hole in the plastic so I could look in. And the studio's getting there. It's getting there. But it's not, I don't think it's going to be done for New Year's Eve. Not to mention, even if it is done, upper management is not going to allow me to do a show there. The only thing they're going to let me do is the studio debut. I don't know why they spell it D-E-B-U-T and they pronounce it debut. It's debut. But besides the point, they're going to let me do one show. That will be the premiere debut show. But it's not, even if the studio is done, they're not going to let me use it for New Year's Eve. He keeps telling me, oh, no. We got a place for you. And it's definitely you. I have no idea what he's talking about. It's definitely me. none of the studios in the multiplex are me. This one wouldn't be me. I don't do breaking news. They're not going to let me use the interview studios because that's per interviews. They're not going to let me use the casual daytime studios because that's not me. I don't know what he's talking about, but all he keeps saying is, "Oh, this is you." I guess I have to wait until 10:30 on New Year's Eve because that's when I'll go in and do my setup for the 11 o'clock start. I asked him if I could do 2 hours. He went, people don't want to see you for an hour, let alone 2. Don't push your luck. I said, oh, okay. The laws in certain cities really confound me. And different states will have a different law for a certain item. Now, most of the time, if you violate a no contact order, your ass gets arrested and you're thrown in jail until somebody bails you out or the judge lets you out. I was watching a video today of this woman who kept violating a no contact order, and the judge let her out on a signature. Now, usually, they will let you out on a signature or what they call a personal bond or personal recognizance, which means you're going to sign a piece of paper and say, I'll be in court on this date. Usually, if you get arrested a second or third time, your ass is sitting in that jail. This woman, today, the video I watched, she was arrested 27 times for violating a no contact order. 27 times. The video I watched today, she had been arrested at 3 o'clock in the morning for violating this no contact order. She saw a judge at 11 o'clock. At noon, she was released. And when she was arrested, she told the police officers, I'll be back. Well, she was like the Terminator. She got released at noon, 1 o'clock. They were getting a call. She violated the no contact order. She's sitting on the front porch because she knows what's coming. And the sergeant that had assisted on the arrest at 3 a.m. said to the 2 other officers that were there, he goes, geez, he goes, you won't believe. We're walking her. No, they were dragging her to the police car, and he said she pissed herself. He says, geez, the car, we had to clean it and everything. So they go up and arrest her, and it's a fight because as soon as they go to put the handcuffs on, she starts kicking and screaming. So they drag her to the police van, and they get her up inside, and they get her buckled in, and she's kind of sitting there all dejected. And they shut the door. And the sergeant turns to the 2 van officers and said, well, at least she didn't piss herself. And from inside the van, they They hear her yell, "Yes, I did." I guess every time she gets arrested, she pisses herself. But it was hilarious. They shut the door on the police van, and the sergeant says to the two guys, "Well, at least she didn't piss herself on the way to the van." And then you hear this screechy voice go, "Yes, I did." I was like, "Oh, jeez." That's why when you see the back end of the police car, it's that hard ABS formed plastic. Well, if you look down at the floorboard, you'll see that it's like a pan. And you'll see 4 like black buttons. Those are grommets. They pop the grommets, they hose the back of the car out, and those are the drains. That's why those cars have that plastic molded interior. They put it in like in one big piece. When the car gets to the upfitter, 90% of the time it doesn't have a back seat because it's marked, seat delete, police vehicle. And then that back seat is one big, giant, formed ABS plastic unit that they just slide in, bolt it into place, and then they can hose the inside of the car out. Well, after the 3 a.m. arrest, they had to hose the inside of the car out. And then after her 1 o'clock p.m. arrest, they had to hose the inside of the van out. She's keeping them busy washing them vehicles. But it was funny. I'm sure the police officer didn't think it was funny, but the sergeant, they turned around, they're starting to walk away. He goes, "Well, at least she didn't piss herself." And she goes, "Yes, I did." It's like, oh, jeez. There wasn't a lot of interesting stuff I watched today. Usually Monday isn't a good video day. You would think after the weekend, there was some sovereign citizen bullshit. Took place in Ohio. I don't know where, but yeah, these people that think, they don't need a license. They don't need insurance. They ride around with these goofy traveler license plates that they buy off of Amazon. I know because I checked. Not that I wanted one. It's that somebody had made the comment, "Oh, you can get them off of Amazon." You can. Private, traveler, all kinds of bullshit. The money these people waste on this sovereign citizen shit. "Oh, I'm not driving, officer. I'm traveling." You're sitting behind a steering wheel. Your feet are pushing the pedals, and your hands are turning the wheel. Anywhere on earth, they call that driving, not traveling. But, oh yeah, I'm not driving. I'm traveling. I have the right to travel. Well, yes, you do. If you go back into time, they did enact traveling legislation. It means basically I can go from Ohio to Pennsylvania with no problem. I can also go from Pennsylvania back to Ohio with no problem. Yes, I can willingly travel across state lines, and you are welcomed in each state. That doesn't mean driving without a license. That means, yes, the states do not have boundaries. Can you imagine if there was a goddamn border stop at every state line and you needed a passport to go from Ohio to Pennsylvania? It's bad enough you need a passport to go from U.S. to Canada now. Thank you, 911. Yeah. I used to be able to go up and visit my friends up there with no problem. Now, I need a passport. I'm not spending that kind of goddamn money. A passport to go to Canada. They're our friendly neighbors. They're our allies. They welcome us. We welcome them. Except when you get to the border. You need a passport. A passport to go to Canada. You know how much money Canada is losing in tourism? Especially the newlyweds. Because Niagara Falls is a big honeymoon location. People aren't going to get a fucking passport to go to Niagara Falls because they may never use that passport again. I think it's asinine myself, but Homeland Security, I don't know what they call it in Canada. I'm sure Canada has their division of Homeland Security. Probably the Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Except they're not mounted anymore. They're driving. Oh, I'll tell you what. They have got the sharpest uniforms. Oh, when you see a Mountie in his red coat with that fancy hat. But that's only for parades now and special occasions. They don't pull you over like that in their cars, Although it would be a shock to see him get out with that red coat and it. But yeah, you need a fucking passport to go to Canada and Mexico. Although Mexico isn't a honeymoon spot, really. Well, some areas. But the big location was Niagara Falls. Because it was easy to get to. And the Canadians welcomed American money. Now, you need a passport. I would probably say 80% of the newlywed tourism is gone. Oh, people would book hotels years in advance to make sure they could get a room on them. Not now. You're not getting a passport for one trip to Canada. Sad. And it's even sadder, I can't go visit my relatives anymore. Well, I could. If I want to buy a goddamn passport. I ain't buying a passport for one visit. It's not like I was going up there weekly. But at least I have email. And I can Skype or Zoom. But it's not the same. Kind of hard to sit down to a welcoming meal over Skype. Because I'd have to cook mine, they'd have to cook theirs, and then we'd have to act like we were sitting at one big table. Plus, Grumpy would get a couple of good free home-cooked meals. Not no more. Yeah. And then, out of the blue, sometime shit pops into my head. I have no reason why. Well, I was thinking back in the 70s, I was kind of considering going into law enforcement. Mainly because I had several friends that were Cleveland police officers. And I used to do illegal ride alongs. Oh, back in the day, the shit we could get away with. Yeah, if one of my buddies happened to not have a partner that night, he'd stop by the house and say, "Hey, you want to go for a ride?" "Sure." And we'd go cruising. I'll never forget the one time they had Cushman scooters. Yeah, Cleveland had Cushman scooters. And he said, "I'm not driving around in that goddamn, looked like a phone booth on wheels." So he pulls up to the house and he's got his walkie-talkie. And he says, "I'm going to sit in your living room, watch TV for a while." So I says to him, "Can I go take the scooter for a ride?" He goes, "Key's in it, go ahead." Oh, man, I was zooming up and down the street, had the red light going, blowing the siren. He says to me about a week later, he goes, were you running the siren and the lights, blowing through intersections?" I said, yes." He goes, "God damn it, you got me in all kinds of fucking trouble." He says, "I got reported for that." I said, "Well, how'd you get out of it?" He said, "Well, I thought they were calling my number." Quick thinking. Needless to say, the next time he came over with the scooter, he pulled the fuse for the light and the siren. He goes, "You can go cruising. You ain't cruising lights and siren no more, asshole." But, oh, I would have loved to have that Cushman scooter. They were cool, but they were like phone booths on wheels. Had a little bed on the back, a little trunk, but it looked like a phone booth on wheels. One-seater. I'll tell you what, for a little Cushman, it had a hell of a heater in it, though. Hey, Grumpy would love to own one. So I got to thinking, some of the stories that he had to tell about his days on the force. He told me one. They had a threat of a jumper on the Lorraine Carnegie Bridge, also called the Bob Hope Memorial Bridge. The guy had climbed up, was sitting up, and he got dispatched along with several other officers. And they were down on the bridge going, "Hey, asshole, come on down here," and they were trying to talk him down. My buddy had been there for like 5 hours. He looked at his watch, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to tell you something right now. I'm getting ready to go on overtime. Make your mind up. Either get down here or fucking jump. But I'm not going to stay here on overtime and watch your ass." He turned around. All of a sudden they heard, ah! He jumped. Oh, yeah. But they could get away with that shit back in the day. Yeah, he yelled up at the guy, hey, make up your mind. Either get down here or fucking jump, but I'm getting ready to go in overtime. I'm not going to sit here and watch your ass up there. Then they just heard, ah! My buddy didn't have to worry about overtime because then the Coast Guard had to go look for the guy in the water. But yeah, we couldn't believe it. Told the guys, make up your mind. And the guy did. He bailed off the bridge. But luckily, he survived with very few injuries. It was amazing. Evidently, when he hit the water, he must have been straight up and down because a lot of people, they flail, and then they hit and yeah. They held the guy like overnight in the hospital. Then they transferred him to a psych unit for a while. And then I guess they let him go. But yeah, Coast Guard fished him out. Come on, idiot, get in the boat. I can imagine if there would have been, it would have gone the other way. But I don't think he ever got reprimanded for it because I don't think anybody ever said anything. Yeah, the shit back in the 70s that they could get away with. Not to mention me going for a lot of police car rides. But it gave me a taste of what daily police work was. And the more I rode, the more I said, nah, this ain't for grumpy. Now, if I could have got like in the traffic unit or in the motorcycle unit, then maybe I'd have considered it. But to ride around all day long, going to boring ass calls, not for grumpy. Can you imagine Officer Grumpy? But see, they didn't have any of them Cushman scooters anymore either. I would love to have one of them. I got to try to find a picture. But it was like a phone booth with a little bed on the back, 3 wheels, 1 wheel in the front, 2 in the back. Not the safest thing on earth. But the city had a whole fleet of them for a while. Every district had, I think, like 4 or 6 of them. And when an officer's partner wouldn't show up, they'd hand him the keys to the Cushman and go, here you go. The good thing was, you got out of arrest. You had nowhere to put the prisoner unless you put him in a trunk. But they were cool. I wanted one. But by the time they took them out of service, a lot of them got cannibalized for parts. I went to the police auction. There weren't any drivable ones. They were all scrappers. I was like, oh, Jesus. Although, like, the auctioneer kept telling me, well, buy 2 or 3 or 4 of them and make into one. I don't want to buy 4 of them and make 4 into one. Not to mention they were really beat by the time they auctioned them off. But in their day, they were cool. That and the 3-wheel Harleys. Oh, the city had a whole shitload of them. And then they quit buying them. They used to use them downtown a lot. The three-wheel, they call them the Servicar or something like that, service car. It was a three-wheel Harley. With a little trunk on the back, neat little bed. I remember back in the 70s when I worked downtown, they had a shitload of them. Everywhere you looked was one of them three-wheel Harley. They've got one in the police museum. A nice restored one. They don't want to sell it. Every time I would go into the police museum, I'd say, hey, you want to sell that? No. Okay. Don't have to be so mean about it. I mean, you can buy them. I don't know if Harley still makes them. I think they farm them out. You see them on the street. Harleys, Hondas, yeah, three wheels. Perfect for old farts like me. That way you don't fall off of them, you know. Like the one day, I forgot to put the kickstand down. I go to get off my bike, and I'm like, oh, guys, I'm going over. Finally, they caught me. I was like, oh. Then I was the talk of the night. You know, idiot. Harley rider. Don't know how to put a kickstand down. I got distracted. I was riding with a buddy. He was in a big-ass hurry. Come on. I was like, okay. I go to get off the bike. And I wondered why it kept going and going. Whoa! Them buckers are heavy. Took like 5 guys to stop me from going over. We were at, where the hell were we? Quaker Snake and something. Snake and Shake, Shake Your Snake. Yeah, Quaker Shake Your Snake. We were out in the one out in Avon, Sheffield, somewhere out there. He was in a big goddamn hurry to eat. Come on, I'm hungry. I said, okay. I go to get off the bike and whoa. Then everybody in the bar was like, look at him. He's the guy that don't know how to put a kickstand down. Almost dumped his bike. Oh. I told my buddy could be in a fucking hurry to get a burger, for Christ's sake. Although I think he wanted to put the moves on a certain waitress. I think that's why he was in a big fucking hurry. Yeah, we don't have any of them anymore. Quaker Shake Your Snake. Or something like that. They came in, and as fast as they came in, they went right back out. There used to be one in Lakewood. Gone. Although, talk about places that come and go. We used to have a sandwich shop, Quiznos. I think there's still some around, but not in Ohio. Well, we had one in Lakewood. And I loved Quiznos sandwiches. I loved them. I'd get one every week. I go up one day, go to pull on the door. It's stuck. No. Going out of business. I was like, Christ, you only been here a couple of years. That, same thing, Five Guys. We had a Five Guys burger place in Lakewood. Now, the burgers were a little pricey, but oh, were they good. Same thing, gone. I don't think they were there 2 years, maybe 3. And then, up the corner, we used to have an old abandoned Kmart. Well, in 2021, a developer said, hey, let's redo the Kmart, build a plaza, and we'll open some stores. So they have like this Ross, Dress for Less, Burlington, Starbucks, Big Lots, Aldi's, Five Below. So the place opened up in 2023. I go by Big Lots, going out of business. The money they spent for that fucking building, and now it's going to be fucking empty because it was one of the premier buildings. You had Big Lots, Burlington, Ross, but Big Lots and Burlington were like the 2 biggest stores. Now we're going to have that big empty fucking hole with nothing in it. I never even was in place. Went out of business before I could go in there. I know, I could have gone in when it opened. It's been open for a fucking year, and I didn't need anything. Then when I decided to go in, closed. It was bad enough that that Kmart sat there empty for years, turned into a slum. Then they built all this beautiful building. Now, right in the center is going to be a big empty hole. Because rent, not cheap. I don't know who they would put in there. And the major problem is, once they close a place like that, that plaza loses some of the draw to get customers in. We've got enough ghost town shopping plazas the way it is. Now, right in the middle of this plaza is going to be a big, ugly, empty building. Although, there are going to be a lot of big, ugly, empty buildings because I guess they're closing all the Big Lots. Now, I knew people that shopped at Big Lots a lot. And they said they got some reasonable deals. Of course, Big Lots is one of them kind of places where if you don't buy it today, it's liable not to be there tomorrow. But, yeah. The other day I was like, I think I'll go wander around Big Lots. I haven't been in it yet. Well, I guess I'm not going to be in it at all. I guess since I never went in it, I'm really not going to miss it that much. But you know, we keep losing more and more and more. You know, like the malls, they're ghost towns. You go out to Great Northern. It's amazing how many empty stores are there. And of course, everybody goes, well, you know, it's the online shopping that killed these places. I don't really 100% believe that. People still want to get out. Not everybody wants to be like grumpy and sit behind a computer a lot. Of course, I am one of those. I'm guilty of being an online shopper. But you know, I don't like crowds. That's why I usually shop at certain hours when I know a store isn't crowded. Plus, there's a lot of times I just don't feel like going in a store. And there's also a lot of times that a store won't have what I'm looking for. You know, the thing that really irritated me was when Radio Shack closed up. Oh, I used to buy a ton of stuff at Radio Shack. Of course, I used to build a lot of my own electronics. And if I needed a transistor or a capacitor or something, I could go in and buy it there. And I could buy one. Now, you can find all the stuff online. I don't want a bag of 50 resistors when I need one. But that's what it's come down to. I loved Radio Shack. And there was another place. It was out at Southland. It was called Olson Electronics. Oh my God. It was a toy store for adults that were into building their own electronics. We also had a place in Parma called Heathkit. You would buy items in kits. Like you could buy a TV kit. Or you could buy a tube tester kit. Or an AC to DC voltage converter kit. I still have the one that I built in 1971. I use it to test my equipment. It takes 110 and converts it to 12 volts DC. I built it. It was you open the box and there was a shitload of pieces. And you had to solder everything to the circuit board. I still have it today. It works like a charm. But see, over the years, kids weren't into that shit. I got interested in it because I took electronics in high school. Same thing. We used to build plastic model kits. AMT Corporation, 124 scale plastic model kits. It'd be like 1,000 pieces. You got done, you had a truck or a car or a bus. Kids don't, they're video game. They don't want to build that shit anymore. You can still find the model kits. Of course, you got to see the prices. I was thinking of building a Freightliner semi. Now, back in the day, that model kit for 124 scale semi was like $20. I found a kit the other day. They still sell them. $149. I don't need to build one that bad. For something to sit on a shelf and collect dust. But we used to do that back in the day. We would build things. Not anymore. The kids ruined it. Same thing. Manual transmissions. They're like dinosaurs now. I think there's only like 3 car manufacturers that build a car with a manual because kids don't want to learn how to drive it. Trucking fleets had to convert their whole fleet to automatic transmissions because they couldn't get truck drivers who knew how to drive a 10-speed or 13-speed or 22-speed. Try finding a manual transmission car today. I think Toyota, you can get it maybe in the Tacoma. I think that's the only vehicle, maybe one of the cars. I know Kia and Hyundai had 1 or 2 cars that were manual. I don't know if you can still get them. Nobody wants to drive it. They don't know how. Grumpy hates automatics. I have 2 5-speeds right now. If it was up to me, I would grab every manual transmission car I could get my hands on, just to save the vehicle. Because manual transmissions are becoming relics. One day they'll be a collector's item. Not today, but right now, I know where there's 2. 2 manual transmission vehicles sitting. If it was up to me, I'd grab them both. Of course, both of them need a shitload of work, but I'd save them because they're manuals. Unless you drive one, you don't understand. You're engaged with all 4 limbs. You're steering with one hand. You're shifting with the other. Your feet are working the clutch and the accelerator. They keep you, I call it, attached to the vehicle. It's not boring. There's nothing neater than rowing through the gears. I refuse to drive an automatic. I wish I could save those 2 vehicles I know about right now. Of course, the one that cost me a godzillion dollars to get running again. The other one, but they're going to get junked because the person that's in charge of them don't want them. And I've been begging him, please, let me have one. He's like, what is your... I said, it's a manual. He goes, yeah. I said, it's a manual. He said, you said that twice now. I said, it's a manual. He said, what is the big deal with a manual? And I told him the same thing. Until you drive one, you don't understand the attachment that you have. First of all, it's safer in winter. Second of all, it keeps you going. Up through the gears, down through the gears, up through the gears, down through the gears. Both feet working. You're engaged with the vehicle. You become like part of it. But you need to drive one in order to understand it. That was like a old girlfriend I had in high school. Her father owned a driving school. He had automatics and manuals. And he taught her to drive on an automatic. And she said, I want to learn to drive a manual. Her father, he was kind of sexist. He goes, women don't drive manual transmissions. Oh, say that today. Oh. And at that time, I had a manual transmission car. I had a little English Ford. And she says to me one day, could you teach me how to drive this? I said, yeah, in 20 minutes. So we went down in the valley, big parking lot down in the valley. And I showed her. She had an idea from watching me anyway. And of course, every time you're new, you leapfrog it a couple times and stall it. I think she did that 3 times. And then she caught on. And she said, I want to drive home. I said, okay. And by the time we got to her house, she was as good as I was. And oh, did she piss off her father. Because she pulled in the driveway and he was washing one of his cars. And he turned around and he saw her get out of the driver's side. And he knew it was a manual. And he was like, what are you doing with that car? And she said, you wouldn't teach me how to drive a stick. Grumpy did. Oh, I wanted to hide. Her father was one of them old, strict German guys. And after that, she never owned an automatic in her life. Unfortunately, sadly, she passed away last year. But up until the day she passed, she had a manual transmission. And every time we would chat, she would say, you taught me how to drive that car. And I've thanked you all my life. Because once you drive a manual, you understand. And I can't get the guy that owns these 2 cars to understand that. To him, they're junkers. Now, one of them, whoa, it's not a junker. It's got some problems. That's why it's been sitting. But they're problems I can fix. And it's a 5-speed. And it's actually a fun car to drive. Expensive as shit to fix, but luckily it don't need major. As a matter of fact, before it quit running, it had a brand new clutch. But I know why it don't run. And it's an easy fix. It's just that the guy that owned it got tired of putting money in it. Of course, after the expensive clutch job, he was like, I'm not putting another dime in that car. And it's sat. It's been sitting for a couple of years. And I want it. And see, he recently passed away. And his son has never driven a manual in his life. And he doesn't understand why I want that one car so bad. I take them both, but the other one, whoa. I'd need a Bank of Switzerland in order to fix that car. Although, I would love to have that one too. Whoa. A car that I always wanted to own. But at this point in time, I couldn't afford a burned out light bulb in that car. Matter of fact, when you write the name of that car out, the one letter S is a $. Yeah. The other one, not so. But it's got a brand new clutch. And I know why it quit. Of course, I didn't tell my neighbor, because then he would have said, hey, you fix it, I'll pay you, and I'll drive it. No. But I'm afraid they're both going to go to the boneyard. And I would sit and cry. Because I want the one. For a couple of reasons. For one, it's a 5-speed. And for two, it's one of these cars that the tuners like to play with. And I know a tuner who would like to play with it. And Grumpy could make a sleeper out of it. Looks like a family car, but would run like, wow. But see, I'm having a problem convincing the son. Because he keeps, it's junk. But you know the saying, one person's trash is another person's treasure. And I could make a treasure out of this car. With some work. I'm not saying it's, put a fuse in and turn the key. No. But it's got a $1,400 clutch job that was done to it like a month before it quit. Yeah, dealer did it. Wow. I saw the bill. But I know what's wrong with it. And it's a somewhat easy fix. Not easy, but it's not out of the realm of Grumpy's mechanical knowledge. Of course, everybody's like, oh, you need a third car like you need a hole in the head. Well, I've got plenty of Ryobi drills and brand new bits. I could handle that too. Just kidding. I wouldn't look good with a hole right here. No. And at my age, I shouldn't even think about it. But it's a manual transmission, and they're becoming dinosaurs. And this could be a fun little ride for Grumpy. Plus, every time I slam a door, a piece of the body wouldn't fall off of it. It's a pretty decent shape, too. So we'll see. There's a lot up in the air right now. But I've made my bid. I said, hey, I want that one. I'd like them both. I can't afford to fix that one. But this one, hooray. If I get closer on the negotiations, I'll tell you what it is. But let's just say it could be a little hot rod. Especially if this tuner buddy of mine gets his hands on it. Of course, he was like, oh, I could put a big turbo on it. No, I don't want to go that far with it. A turbo. That's all I need. Launch myself out of first gear and throw myself in the back seat. No turbos for Grumpy. But see, this is what he does. He takes them Hondas and Toyotas, them little 4-cylinder engines, puts big turbochargers on them, high flow injectors, and he turns them into little rockets. I don't want this a rocket. I just want it a little spiffier than crank the horsepower by maybe 50, not 200. I have weird things that I fight for. One of them is manual transmission vehicles. I actually look forward to driving again because it keeps me engaged. I love rowing through the gears. I'm like a little teenager when I'm driving my shitbox. Even though every time I hit a chuck hole, another piece of the body falls off of it. But yeah. Oh, enough about that. I'm getting excited. A damn flatbed could pull in the driveway one day and I'd watch it go by and go, oh no. But I put the bug in his ear. But see, like I say, if you've never driven one, he looks at me like some idiot, like, oh, why would you bother? It's so much work to drive in them cars. Me, I get in mine, turn the key, put it in D, and I go. You gotta go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3. That's the fun of driving a manual. Up through the gears, down through the gears. Boy, did we go all over the subject matter today. But I made my point for manual transmissions. The old, I need them bumper stickers that say, save the manual. Oh, they have them out. Not to mention, a manual transmission is one of the best anti-theft devices out there today. Because these young kids don't know how to drive them, so they ain't going to steal them. Yeah. Although, on my shitbox, I have one more anti-theft device. I have a detachable steering wheel. I've got 5 different steering wheels. I can change them. And one day it was funny. I was at Speedway getting smokes, and I left the truck run. And I had the steering wheel in my hand. And a police officer comes in, who owns that white truck out in the parking lot? It's running. Somebody could steal it. And I held up the steering wheel. I said, well, a little hard to steal it without this. He looked at me like I needed to be committed. I said, yeah, I got a detachable steering wheel. If I leave it run somewhere, I take it with me. Here it is. He says, show me how that works. So after I made my purchase, we went out to the truck. I popped it in. I turned the lock. I said, there. Nice and tight. And I turned the lock again. I said, here. He said, I don't want the steering wheel. Put it back. I said, okay. Yeah. So it's a double anti-theft. It's a manual with a removable steering wheel. And I've got 5. One is a little race wheel. I'll show it to you one day. I got it in my steering wheel bag. Yeah, it's a little thing. I don't know what I was thinking. Every time I try to drive the car, the thing's so goddamn tiny, it drives me crazy. But it looks cute in there. Looks like a Le Mans racer. I know you people are thinking, oh my God, he's off the deep end. Well, maybe. But I have fun. And with that, I think I'll play my ending music and microwave my leftover quiche from last night. Oh, it was delicious. I put in extra cheese. Yeah, it was a seafood cheese quiche. Oh, no, don't start. Oh, this thing drives me crazy. This tablet is so touchy. And friends, Grumpy and the Grumpy Vulture will meet you again tomorrow night. Maybe in this studio, maybe in a different one. I think the CEO's getting pissed off I keep using this one, considering the station hasn't even used it yet. Okay, friends, I will see you tomorrow night, same place, same station. Until we meet again tomorrow. See ya.